All right. Well, hello again, everyone. How you doing today? This is another episode of Carpo's Rambles, evening thoughts, afternoon thoughts. Haven't made any videos today, so hey, can't go without making a video. There are a couple things that I was just, I always have to ease into my subject, Some people can just jump right in, and I guess that's probably because there's a lot of editing going on, when a person really has been practicing and reciting what they're going to talk about in their video, and then they do it, and it's done and quick and over. And for me, it's a lot more kind of easing into it. I was going to talk about the tapestry of society that we've created and how tightly we've woven this tapestry. And I'm talking about everything from environmental issues and protection to corporate desires, or the freedom of industry to proceed as it wishes versus the way that people hope that certain rules and regulations are put in place, yet at the same time don't want government interfering in what we do. And we've set up a system that we're forced into. I could start, I guess, why technology is a good one. I've talked with a lot of people first who want to move off the grid or get out of the system, and the one thing I always say is you can do that, but you're still going to have to either pay land use tax or be able to hide in a place where you won't be found, and in fear of progress interfering with your lifestyle. But you can't just go homestead anymore on a land without being involved in the system and paying some sort of a tax, being part of the money. And it makes it tough for people who don't like money, like myself, who don't want to have to be part of it. For connections and communications and the things we have to have, like for me, in order to make any money at all, I have to have a business. And since I have a business, I have to have my computer in order to, make sales and to fill out paperwork and organize stuff. A phone is a perfect example. I made a video the other day where I talked about my phone, and I've been using this thing for the past, see if I can see how broken the screen is. It's an old Droid 4. Been using it for like 2 years, and the screen's been broken the whole time. And I've made it a point to not make it a big deal. Like, it's not an essential that I have a phone that I can play on. I can still answer and text. So I went out the other day, I mentioned this, I bought this, it's a Verizon, or a HTC One M8 that I got off Craigslist. The person who I bought it from, I got it for $50, and of course got it home and it was stolen. I could have checked the MEI number or whatever, but I didn't. So that was my mistake. But as I went into the shop today to get a new phone, and I was talking to the guy, and I was saying, yeah, I've had this broken one forever, and then I bought this one, and explained that it had been reported stolen like 2 years ago, and there's nothing anybody could do now. And he said, well, he was straight up. He's like, you take it right across the street to Metro PCS. He's like, actually, they don't have the same database, so you can just have it registered right on the line for like $30 a month. And I'm stuck in with Verizon as a customer for a long time, and I just haven't. I'm not wrapped up in a contract, but I'm still. It's like anything else. This is what I'm trying to say. You're in part of this system that you're wrapped into, and you have so many other things to deal with. The last thing you want to do is spend an hour dealing with transferring providers and checking deals, and so we're left to trust people a lot on issues. Now, actually, to finish out the phone thing, this M8, this Verizon One M8, hold on a sec. It's bound to happen. Someone actually said the other day, they're like, edit out your family interruptions. Like, why? This is the reality of life. I'm not going to sit here and edit out life when it happens, I guess. Well, anyhow, the phone, this phone is awesome. I mean, and it's not even a new phone. It's like 2 years old already, or older. But it does so many things. I mean, it's got the program on it where I can use it to remote control every item in my house, and it's got super fast processor. The camera, it's got 2 cameras on the front that actually take 3D pictures, and then it's got panoramic settings, and I mean, just so many things that I would never even use. And I don't want to get too far into the phone thing, because I have a point here, is that because when I talked to the guy in the store, I was going to buy another Droid 4. It was like $40. I was like, well, I'll just get that and put it back on the line. And when he went to sell it to me, it was broken. The back was broken. It wouldn't go on. So I was like, never mind. And then he's like, well, look, this one's the same price. It's a Casio G-Zone. Shockproof and whatnot. It's supposed to be like water resistant and, you know, super durable. You can throw it around. And I was like, well, that's actually something that a guy like me would be better off having, you know, because I like to be able to not worry about breaking and dropping things like I always do. But I guess what I'm getting at here is that the technology of getting the latest and the greatest, when I told the guy in the store, I said, I don't really care about having new phones, and he goes, thank you for that. Like, he was dead serious. He's like, so many people, he's like, they just don't get it. He goes, guys like you know, when something goes down, you guys will be the ones who people will be asking what to do next. Because he was a younger guy. I was probably, you know, at least 10 years younger than me. And so he'd grown up in a time when that's all they had. And I think that the generation of today is realizing how wrapped up in technology they are. I can play on my phone and utilize it for my needs, for business, for pleasure, elsewhere, surfing the web. In fact, this one device I've got, even though it's not hooked up to, you know, even though I can't get a phone line on it, I could have traded it in or sold it, and I was like, no, I want to keep it. It's a $750 phone, new. And it's basically like a little computer. It does everything. And I can't get over it. I really can't. I can't get over that a device, this little tiny device right here, can do all the pictures and videos as much as the best possible camera I could have had 10 years ago. And in fact, it's superior to my Panasonic camera I'm using now for taking like photos in low light. And I still have never even begun to use all the things that a phone has to offer. And this is just a phone. You know what I mean? Now think about it, when it gets to like automobiles, we're so convinced that we have to, well, not all of us, okay, some people have been stuck in this idea that they really need to lease a car every few years and have the latest and the greatest. It's like, I've heard every excuse in the book about it. I was like, well, a person's got to be a fool to lease a new car, and they say, well, it's more it's reliable, or oh, there's a warranty on it, and if anything happens to it. And some people say, oh, I love having that new car smell. None of those are good enough reasons to me. It's just the same justification as saying, well, I buy a $50,000 car because it's a good car. If that's something you can spend, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying that somebody's going to purchase these things, so be it. But we shouldn't try to justify it as any more than a luxury. And that would be the same way as a person going in to get the latest iPhone 6. If you're standing in line with the iPhone 5 waiting to get the iPhone 6, then your phone is a luxury. It's not a necessity. It's something that it's like bragging rights. So, and I guess I never notice it because I see people out in public who are like obviously trying to show off their phones, and I never really thought about it because it's like a phone's a phone to me. Who cares, you know? You could have a tablet and your huge ass phone in your hand that does everything and wipes your ass for you too. I'm sure there's an app for that. But I guess I should use that to kind of segue into my idea here about the tapestry and kind of try to explain a little further where I'm coming from. You can't just pull one aspect of yourself out of the system. I guess we could say that, you know, let's say you want to downgrade and just go to just the basic needs. Like, for example, my computer doesn't even edit videos. It doesn't have a hard drive. It's like a solid state hard drive. It's actually a notebook, and it was like $100. And I've been using it for a year or so now. And before that, it was a Craigslist computer for $50. I bought one computer in my life new, and that was when I was an idiot. I was younger, in my late 20s. It's like, oh, I'll just go down and buy a quality computer. You know, I went to Big Buy or Best Buy or something. Spent $700 on the computer. And it worked okay for a year, and this was back when Vista came out. Vista just sucked. And I used it for a year and a week, and then it crapped out on me. And the warranty was up in a year, and of course there was nothing I could do. And it's still behind me bricked 10 years later. It's But then some of the shit that I bought for $100, like a crappy little notebook, it works just fine for all the needs I need. It's the bare minimum. It maybe is a little slow when I want it to be fast, and maybe the processor speed isn't enough to do heavy editing and videos, but so be it, you know? We don't need all that stuff. But we're so entwined into it all. I guess, to try to explain where I'm coming from a little better, if you were to pick up and walk out of your home, this is metaphoric. Nobody's going to leave their family, but let's just say you are an individual living alone, and you decide that you're going to pick up and leave one day. What do you take with you? Now, we're assuming that you're going to take a fresh start, a new life. Most people would take their technology with them, their computers, their phones, things like that. But think about all the things you might have with you that you couldn't live without, and I don't mean you couldn't live without, but that you wouldn't want to. And then we can start to get a better idea of what we really desire or need. I'm a person who has a lot of stuff. Around me I have my shelves up here. I've got like an 8-track and a CD DJ mixer kind of thing and various speakers. I have a box of film from 20 years ago that I still haven't developed. And yeah, they're still good actually. I had one done last year and it looked pretty good. Boxes, stereos, paintings, a lot of boxes I built and created as a carpenter. And they just pile up, and they're the things that you don't want to get rid of because you might be able to give them to somebody one day or use them someday. But all of the shit can be tossed. If I were to have to pick up and move, there's very little that I would really see as essential. But I find myself keeping things that I might want in the future. But I guess I'm getting too far into like material stuff. I really wanted to talk more about the mental weave, the mental connection in this tapestry. We want to believe one thing, and we hold opposing beliefs, and we get that cognitive dissonance going where, you know, yeah, I believe in evolution, but I also believe the Earth is 6,000 years old, for example. Or, yes, I believe that I believe that global warming is, well, I don't even want to I won't go into examples because they're off the top of my head. We, in the end, come to a consensus on how much we're willing to trust other people to tell us what the best plan of action would be for something. We see specialists, you know. I guess I'm one of the stubborn people who doesn't like to take advice. And it's not that I don't take advice. It's just that a lot of the advice I've got in the past has been stuff that I'm like, I've already considered that, or I've already tried this, or it's something usually that's just blatantly obvious to me. Because I'm a thinker. I think about where I'm at in life all the time. So advice to me is usually advice I already know. And perhaps I'm a little stubborn and arrogant about it sometimes. And, you know, then sometimes I'll say, well, you know, I try to be patient and tolerant. And then I'll stop and say, wait, why the fuck should I care? Who do I have to, you know, cater to or tiptoe around? You know, if your skin's not thick enough to deal with something, then tough shit, you know. In other words, when you try to pussyfoot around and not insult anybody and not offend anyone, then people start to try to pick at your armor even more to try to find a weakness. Like, where will you lash out? Kind of like a meditating monk. A person would be just dying to see how much would it take to get them angry. That's just an example. Most people wouldn't care about or wouldn't want to do something like that, but there's some real assholes out there. And that's why we should have the right to say what we mean and say what we want. If you hold back from saying the things that you truly feel, then people will tread on you. They will. And if you speak out too much and tell everybody exactly what you feel, well, then they'll feel like they're tread on and you'll end up losing friends too. So, in order to be part of this society, whether we like it or not, we follow certain rules and guidelines about the way that we talk to one another and the things we're willing to say. Not everyone. There are plenty of people out there who just throw around bad language and horrible insults to anybody they meet online. But we have to remember this is another problem of how technology has woven a new thread through communication. It's almost like it's a misthread. You know, it allows us to flow with what we're thinking and how we truly feel. But at the same time, a lot of people, if I were to walk up to someone in a grocery store and say, yeah, you know, I'm thinking, we were talking, and I would say, you know, I think global warming might be an issue. And then some random guy next to me just says, oh, dude, you're a fucking idiot. Pieces of shit like you dumb libtard, and yada yada. It's not the kind of thing you expect. Because they're face to face and they see that we're just people. But that depersonalization of being online and being able to say whatever you want has kind of changed the way we communicate. And it makes it appear that people are more hostile. I don't think that's true. I think that there are a lot of people who have always been angry, and the internet just gives them a place to lash out. I don't believe that the internet turns anyone into an asshole. It just allows the truth to unfold. Think of it as digital booze, okay? A lot of folks say, well, I didn't mean that, I was drunk. You know, I'm sorry to say, but when you're drunk, you often say things exactly how you feel. You just have no inhibitions, so you don't hold back because you don't give a shit. And then later you have to sit and reconcile your actions with the person that you harshed upon, but they know that it's probably how you truly feel. Let me say that the one of the harsh threads, the rough threads here, has to do with the way that men and women or rather that men and women treat each other. And I was going to make a video about this the other day, and I totally decided not to, and I'm really glad, because I sleep on ideas. I wanted to make a video discussing feminism and the issues that I have with generalizing men as these, you know, brutal apes that some of these extreme feminists do. And I was discussing it with my wife and saying, I don't believe that men are really this way, and I was getting a woman's point of view, that the way that women see, if any woman has been abused, it's easy to see how they would assume that men are that way. And some women have been abused several times. One thing I was pointing out to her is that often a man who's going to abuse one woman or treat her disrespectfully will do it to any woman. It's not something that they'll hold back on and just do to one person. This is why I'm so bothered with the idea that Donald Trump said the things that he did. This shows that he's a pervert and a molester. And these are things that I, as a grown man, find appalling more than anything else. Assaulting someone by touching their genitals or getting in their space when they don't want you around. And a lot of guys do this. And it's something that is completely unacceptable, okay? But it's given women ammunition to a lot of feminists to talk a lot of shit about men. And I don't feel like men are, you know, I wanted to say that maybe 1 in 10 men were that way, that they would actually, you know, abuse and rape a woman. But I'm totally wrong, I'm sure. That's just what I would like to believe. I'm sure that it's probably higher, and I don't know the percentage of men who would or do assault women or whatnot. But I watched this one video where a lady was showing posters, and it's this kind of new campaign against, you know, a feminist campaign kind of thing, and it's the quote is, "Don't be that guy." It's kind of like the old "don't be a dick, don't drink and drive," or, you know, truth for the smoking ads and whatnot. And their quote is, "Don't be that guy," and it shows a guy standing over a girl who's passed out on the bed, and he's got his hand on his zipper, and it says, "Passed out doesn't mean willing," or something like that. Now, there are a lot of people, a lot of men out there on college campuses and elsewhere who do rape women when they're passed out or when they're not passed out. And just like that one asshole who got off because, you know, the judge didn't want, his dad didn't want the judge to ruin his life because he had a future ahead of him. Rapists deserve to be punished. That's my opinion. But also, we have to realize that we can't lump all men in as being potential rapists. It is the exact same way as saying all Muslims are terrorists. And unfortunately, a lot of people believe that too. There have been times when I've thought certain things or believed certain things. What? That was weird. I wonder which phone's making noise. I have 3 phones sitting here. So anyway, of course none of them really worked very well. I don't know. I guess I'll just leave it at that. Men and women and society and the way that we treat one another, we're just humans. We have a lot of instinct that's still rooted in, just like the babies, how the baby just knows how to suckle. There are certain sexual urges that people have in life, and unfortunately some people don't learn to control that. And it's not just sexual, it's urges to do all kinds of things. Urges to steal, to lie, to cheat, to abuse, to insult, to take things that are one way and try to make them another, or create fallacies, or do anything that inside our minds we know is wrong. And it's almost like doing something that's wrong in our minds that we know is wrong. Is that worse than just not knowing that what you're doing is wrong? Which is worse? I mean, I don't know. I guess, in essence, I don't expect people to be perfect. We're all tied into different aspects of the society that we live in. And for some people it really works out, especially if they're a person who, has found their calling or has happened to get into a good situation, lucky in that sense, or, endowed with great intelligence or whatever it might be. And the rest of us just do what we can. Anyhow, ramble over. I'll talk to y'all soon. I guess I should have the light on. It'll be a little better.